When it comes to making a documentary, most people are going to tell you that you need to get access to a celebrity or a high-profile athlete or somebody with notoriety. I'm going to walk you through why that's not entirely necessary, especially when you're distributing to YouTube. So a couple years back, I made a 9-part documentary series right here on YouTube called The New North. Over the course of that series, we accumulated 660,000 views, 12,000 subscribers, and made around $12,500 and had an RPM as high as $21.52.
Trying to keep this drive alive, down by 3. 5:45 now left to play in the fourth. Hopper, pocket collapses, he steps up, throws it up for Juarez.
So when I was making my documentary series, I really didn't have high expectations. For me, I grew up in Northeast Indiana, and I was telling a story about a team in my own backyard. You know, I had always envisioned that in order to be successful as a documentary filmmaker, I was going to need to find somebody with notoriety, a celebrity, a famous athlete, or maybe a franchise that has won a whole bunch of championships. So with what I was doing, following a high school football program in the area that I grew up in, it just didn't seem like it would have legs. But what I found through this experience is that I couldn't have been more wrong. Sometimes the best stories are actually hidden in plain sight. And in an era where documentaries revolve so much around larger-than-life characters and teams, there has to be a place for the underdog story.
I don't think people believe in us. I'm just wanting to prove everybody wrong.
Really what you need to be looking for isn't necessarily the story as much as it is the characters. You need to find people within this story who have the right sort of motivations, the right sort of journey that they're on that makes this interesting. And with what we did, I found that just naturally baked into this story. The main character we had is Coach BJ. You know, the first time I met him, I heard a lot about the guy. I was told that he was trying to do things differently, and he was kind of an outlier locally. He was kind of like a villain in the football scene because for some reason, a lot of people didn't like his unconventional ways. But the first time I met him, I didn't really get that impression. He was kind of quiet and reserved. But once I saw him on Friday night, you know, he's out there during warm-ups and he's just wearing regular attire with like some athletic shorts and a shirt. But then he goes into his office, and when he opens that door and comes back out, this dude's wearing like a full Adidas like tracksuit. He's got a big old chain on, and it was like, oh wow, like, okay, like I get it now. And just seeing the way that he just came to life on a Friday night was really cool. And I knew at that moment, okay, I got myself a main character. And you're watching him as he navigates the sidelines and has these conversations. And this dude is just like leaking with enthusiasm. I mean, you could just tell that this was the most important thing in that guy's world at that moment. And that's what you want to look for when you're making a documentary. You want characters who just freaking love this shit. This guy loves this shit. Like, I'm genuinely convinced that this was like his goal in life was to be a high school football coach. And I had the opportunity to be able to see that firsthand over 2 years. And it was really cool to watch.
I need 120% focus all night.
Yes, coach.
Eyes on me. 120% focus all night.
But a documentary, yes, you can do it with one individual, but a lot of times you need multiple subjects. And so at that time, you know, I'm thinking, okay, who's my next subject? Naturally, we got Tay Johnson on this team. I think at the time he's a 5-star athlete, so that makes a lot of sense. So I sat down with Tay that first day I was there, and I'm interviewing him, and it honestly felt like I was talking to a peer. Like, this kid's 16 at the time, and it felt like I was talking to like somebody in their 20s or their 30s. You know, he's telling me that like, I'm going to be a Hall of Famer in the NFL. I'm going to change the entire trajectory of my family.
I want to become a Hall of Famer in the NFL. Hopefully win a Super Bowl in the league, and then really just change the perspective of my whole family. My brothers, my mom, my dad, my grandma.
And I'm just like, holy shit. Like when I was 16, I did not have thoughts like that. Like, I was just worried about gas money. But he's saying this stuff, and he's saying it confidently, like he believes it. And that really caught my attention. And when I'm at the game on Friday and I'm watching him as he navigates around his teammates, he really came to stand out. You knew that he was somebody who had a future ahead of him. You could tell that there's a reason this guy's a 5-star athlete and that he's a leader of this team at the age of 16. And over the course of that season, the journey that he's on, you're watching him go as a 16-year-old kid and become kind of one of the faces of this program. He's a leader of this team. You got a 16-year-old building up 18-year-olds. 18-year-old kids are looking up to a 16-year-old kid on this team. That's rare. I played high school sports. You don't see that often. That's a once-in-a-generation sort of talent. And not just a once-in-a-generation sort of talent, that's a once-in-a-generation sort of personality type. And really, I think that plays a big role into where that kid is at today. I'm a Notre Dame football fan, so it's pretty freaking sweet for me to be able to see a kid that I saw from the age of 16 through 18 in front of my lens, and now I'm watching him play for my favorite college program, and he's not just playing, he's dominating. He was a freshman All-American, so that's been cool. So naturally, as a secondary subject of this series, Tay was an awesome character. It's really been a privilege and one of the bigger joys of my career to be able to follow somebody of his stature. Beyond that, we had to find another character, and naturally, Bodie Dickerson, the quarterback, was an easy selection. Bodie was somebody who, if you watch this series, he stands out. And for me, a big thing that stands out about Bodie is that this is a kid who transfers from one of the powerhouse programs. He transfers from the school that they beat in episode 1, and it's a great underdog story, but I can't imagine being a senior in high school, going from this private Catholic school across town to transferring to an inner city program that is literally, it couldn't be more different than what he was used to. And he just did it like it was natural. There was no adjustment period. He just instantly goes into that program and acts like he's known all these kids his entire life. And he was able to buy the respect of his teammates, and they put together a great season, and he had a great season as well. He was naturally a really interesting character, to see him in the very first games, building up his teammates and just already being a leader whenever he just met some of these people a couple months ago was really impressive. That made him just a great person to follow, and he was a lot of fun to interview. He likes to talk, and I think that shines through in a lot of his interviews as well. And then the one that surprised me that really made this story interesting and kind of wrapped it all together was the defensive coordinator, Thomas Tyree. Now, I didn't know really anything about him going into this series, but it didn't take long to know that he was going to be somebody that we gave a lot of screen time to. And that's largely in part to the fact that he is one of the more colorful coaches, I guess is the way I would put it.
Tired of giving up third downs! That's not discipline!
You know when he's there because on the sidelines, if there's anybody screaming and yelling at kids, it's probably him. And it's not to say that he is like this cutthroat, awful guy or something like that. I think he just comes from a little bit of a military background, and his style of coaching it reflects his experiences. And I think it's kind of necessary at times. We're talking about a program where there's kids who struggle to take direction at times from some of these adults that are the coaches, and he makes them pay attention. And what was cool about Thomas that I got to understand throughout the course of this series is Thomas is somebody who actually came from a background similar to a lot of these kids.
We're on our way to win this game, right? We need every single one of you. I didn't give up on Brayvon, did I? No, I didn't. And this is why, because he's going to respond. I need you to pick everyone up. We can't do the mountain down. Everybody's playing just as hard. They just don't express it the way you do.
He understands what they're going through. He's had those same trials and tribulations. And so he knows what they need to hear. And he's going to tell them the stuff that's uncomfortable that they might not want to hear. And sometimes that's happening on the sidelines. And so, when I'm showing scenes where he's chewing a kid out or there's an emotional scene with him involved, it's not to expose these people and make them look bad or to get clicks. It's really, as a documentary filmmaker, like that's what you want. It is the real, raw human emotion. This is stuff that's not scripted. It can't be faked. That's what I want people to see. As the director of this series, I quickly realized this wasn't about football as much as it was about giving people the opportunity to experience an environment they may have never had any exposure to. I was somebody myself. I hadn't been around inner city football. I had competed against programs such as Northside when I was in high school, but I really hadn't been within those confines and experienced all of the ups and downs of their seasons. And sometimes it's lack of funding. Other times it's something different. And I just found that it made for a very interesting storyline. And I think that is something that you'll see unfold over the course of these 9 episodes.
Got no idea what they finna see from us.
Simply the answer is raising the bar, finna raise some more. Some more. What? No elevator, we up from the.
That's the record. They gonna know who you is.
Made it from the bottom, now I'm on top and I'm ready for war. Oh my God, yeah, this one sound like.
There ain't no doubt in my mind this group can win a state championship, man. That ain't been done since 1940.
Oh my God, yeah, this one sound like.
I tell them all the time, no one can stop us but us.
At the end of the day, I'm just breaking down what I learned from creating a documentary series that posted on YouTube and did great. I mean, based on my expectations, this completely blew everything out of the water. I did not expect this to happen, but I'm glad that it did, because through this exposed an entirely different career path for me, and I'm now pursuing it. I'm going to be spending the upcoming years looking at YouTube a lot differently than what I did when I released this project. YouTube to me now is something that I believe can be a viable career path. I want to see what will happen when I put the skill set that I've developed over the course of over a decade now doing commercial filmmaking. I want to see what happens when I apply that to something like YouTube. The way I view YouTube at this point is this can be a platform to where I can monetize it and I have a place to distribute my documentary work. For me, doing a lot of commercial work, that pays my bills. That's how I have a house and allows me to have a family. But that doesn't really get me excited the way that creating an original series like The New North does. This is something that even if I had $1 million, well, with inflation, maybe $5 million in the bank, I would still be doing this because I genuinely love the craft. I love to tell a good story. I love to be able to show people's emotions in a raw and authentic way. This is just part of who I am. It's what I love to do. And so that's what I'm going to keep doing. I truly believe that if you combine your passion with your career and you're working in a way that feels fulfilling to you, you're not stressing yourself out too much, you're enjoying what you're doing, good things are ultimately going to happen. I have a second season of The New North dropping this year in 2026. I've been sitting on this for a while. I'm really excited about this one because I learned a ton from that first season that I've applied to that second season. And whether that be the way that I shot it from the sidelines or the way that I edited and how I'm packaging it for YouTube, it's really going to be a lot more of an advanced experience. I think people will notice that this is improved, made some changes that I think will make things perform a little bit differently, hopefully better. We'll see. And then in addition to that, I actually filmed an additional series about one of the largest and most unique wiffle ball tournaments in the world. This is something that happens every year, not too far from where I grew up. A small town in Ohio hosts this amazing tournament. It will blow your mind. I think that everyone will love that. So I look forward to bringing that to you. Again, with both of these projects, I will be breaking them down the same way I am this first season of The New North. So if this is something you're interested in, please subscribe, share it with your friends who have, similar motivations and interests as you. And until next time, just take it easy, guys.